Addressing some of what we as society believe are some of the most pressing clinical issues outside of COVID-19, namely obesity, diabetes and heart disease, is critical. AIM-listed OptiBiotix is in the business of addressing these areas through its products. It's just presented its full year earnings with a £5.6 million pre-tax profit on a 104% rise in sales. The founder and chief executive is Stephen O'Hara. He joins us now on the line from Salisbury. Stephen, it's good to talk to you. Thanks indeed for your time. Before we get on to the numbers and where you've gone in the last year, which is presented today in these figures, just how as consumers do we engage with your products?
So we're a company that has looked at the market. I used to be a former director of global director of healthcare for 3M, and you look at the market globally, and you look for those areas where you have the chronic lifestyle diseases, which impact upon our lives on a daily basis, where there's limitations in current treatment. So the two areas that we focused on initially are obesity, where there are a number of existing products, but we have a functional product, so it has a particular means to help you reduce hunger and help reduce cravings for food. Then we have a cardiovascular product that is similar to statins, but is a probiotic that reduces cholesterol without having the side effects or the tolerance issues. And people buy these products either through our agents, so we have a B2B model, but we also sell our products in UK through our online store. And they've grown, as you just indicated, they've grown very, very quickly, double sales this year. We launched the products 2.5 years or so ago. We're now in 160 countries with 80 deals, and we won multiple awards, not just for our products, but for our science. So we've got some decent products in, as you say, some very important areas for healthcare.
Just to confirm, these are over the counter, aren't they? There's nothing here which is prescription based. Is that correct?
Yeah, they're over the counter products. Although we do have a lot of interest from pharmaceutical companies who see these quite close, because the basis of everything we do is to understand the science and carry out human studies with key opinion leaders, and they're all independent of us. Our studies are becoming are so good that they're being compared to existing therapeutic agents. So, for example, one of our partners, Alpha Sigma in Italy, which is a large probiotic market, they market the product through pharmacies, through GPs and hospitals. So that's their focus. Other products are over the counter, as you say, but the key point is you don't need a prescription for these products.
Just talk to me a little bit about the market that you're trying to address here. How big is this market? Because I get the feeling we're talking here about something which is billions and billions of pounds in potential.
So when you enter a market, as I mentioned earlier, I was a director of 3M Healthcare. You look for large markets, but more importantly, large markets that are continuing to grow. You don't really want a mature or declining market. So the two areas that I've just indicated, the weight management clearly is a global problem. It's particularly in some parts of the world, and as you're well aware, in the UK, it's seen as a key strategic issue for healthcare in this particular country. So that's a massive market. You're talking of billions. Then when you look at the cardiovascular market, again, that's a very large market. In fact, if you look at the morbidity mortality figures, the vast majority of us will die of cardiovascular related diseases than any other disease. So they're key areas of healthcare which unfortunately existing products, whether it be statins or they be knee replacements, don't really meet the need. Because if they met the need, then the rates of obesity and the rate of cardiovascular mortality and morbidity wouldn't be growing.
I've been talking to a lot of chief executives over the last year. Of course, it has been a year to remember for many and a year to forget for many more. Just explain how the last year has unfolded for you. I mean, to some degree, this is represented this 104% rise in sales. So along that measure, I guess it's been particularly good. But how have you managed to cope with what's gone on?
That's a very good question. So strategically, what we've attempted to do, and I think the results show we've achieved, is rather than focus on a single market, focus on multiple markets. So many companies will build, if you like, in in a serial way. We tried to build in a parallel way. So we launched in the UK, we then launched in Europe, we've also launched in the USA and in India, and we also have markets in Australia and New Zealand, and we have multiple products. So that mitigates your risk. If you just launched in, for example, the UK, you'd probably be more affected than those other markets. So each of those markets were affected. So in the first half of the year, we had far more rapid growth in the second half of the year. So we probably would have had even bigger numbers if it wasn't for COVID. But the risk was much reduced because you have multiple products now in multiple markets, and those markets, number of markets that we're selling products in, are increasing this year. And probably more importantly, the existing, and we have a number of big partners. I mentioned Alpha Sigma, Holland & Barrett, another big partner in the UK, and we have a group in Australia, New Zealand called OptiPharm. Each of these partners are actually adding more products to the portfolio. So the guys from Holland & Barrett increased their portfolio from 3 to 8 in the last month or so, and they're also asking for more territories. So it's not just, you often look at your results and you look back, but you have to look forward and see where growth's coming from in future years. And with existing partners extending territories, extending products, we see a very bright future for OptiBiotix.
Yeah, well, let's pick up on that point, in fact, and ask you about the future. How has this current year started? Is that trajectory that you set, which is a very steep line in terms of overall growth in the last year, is that continuing into this current fiscal year?
Yeah, it's a continuing at the same sort of rate. And what we're finding is that going back to your point over last year, where in the second half of the year we didn't grow so much, partly because people were holding lower stock levels because of the uncertainty. People are starting to build partners are building their stock levels. So what we're finding is that we're getting more orders, but more importantly, we're getting bigger orders. And that's because, as I said earlier, partners are increasing their range of products and increasing the number of territories the products are sold in. So similar growth rate, but more products we're selling and more orders, and those orders are larger. So it's looking an interesting year this year. There's no guarantees because we're not even halfway through the year yet, and lots of, as last year will tell you, lots of things can change. But it's looking very, very promising.
Okay, well, it's an interesting point you mentioned, the fact that you continue to see that rise in sales into this year. I want to talk a little bit more about the cost it takes to bring about those sales. I think from the previous year it was 352,000. This current or the year we're talking about was 640 thousand. So that's quite a substantial increase. How do you explain this, and what do you look at to justify that rise?
Well, if you're selling more product, then you have a greater cost of sales because you've got to pay for the ingredients that you put into the products. The important thing is that the sales revenues increase at a greater level than the cost of sales. So if you look at our gross margin for the 2019 compared to 2020, our gross profits increased by 124%. So our revenues have increased, but our cost of sales haven't increased as much proportionally. So it's a very important point, and thank you for bringing it out, because as you grow the business, as you scale the business, what you're looking to do is proportionally to reduce your cost of sales. And what we're finding is we grow the business, we've been able to negotiate better terms with partners and been able to reduce our cost of goods proportionally with partners, and we'll see that trend continuing.
Okay, clearly an interesting point to clarify. But on the positive side, whichever way you read it, is the fact that you've got cash nearly doubling in the year. Let's move on to the cash side of it and the cash generation and shareholder returns and so forth. I think in the context of this, I'd like to bring in the share price chart, if I can, to take a look at this. This goes back 3 years or so, and you can see the highs that we had there back in August, the summer of 2018, 120 odd pence a share. Here we are now at something like 46, 47 pence after the earnings out today. In the context of what I've just said about the fact you're generating more cash than you've ever done before, what is your strategy for shareholder returns?
So the strategy for building shareholder return is to build a sustainable business. And you're comparing a share price back in 2018, August 2018. I think as the highest point, it went to £1.34. At that particular point in time, we had no sales, we had very little IP, we had very few human studies showing that our products worked. So the SP, the share price, is not really a proxy for value. And as you're well aware on AIM, it's quite volatile. And what we tend to find, and this happens across AIM, I'm quite an investor myself, is that people invest in the share price, so you get momentum rises in the share price and you get momentum falls. So at that stage back in 2018, people were investing in the potential. And then what happens in the cycle with AIM is the realization that it takes time to build a business, our share prices dropped, and then you'll start to increase as people start to realize that we've got, building a business here, we're not building just a share price. And as we go forward, just to answer your question more directly, you will see the sales in these first generation products grow very quickly. So we expect sales in Slim Biome, which is one of our products, and LPLDL each to be somewhere in the region of 10, possibly 20 million in the years ahead. So that will add an awful lot of value to the company and the share price. But even more importantly, we have our highly innovative second generation products. So these include our sweet biotics, which is a sweet fiber. This is new science and new technology. We have our microbiome modulators, which are coming through, which look particularly exciting. We've just concluded some work which show we can scale these to very high levels. And we've got potentially the opportunity to take one of our probiotic LPLDL into a drug biotherapeutic. So you got, I always, when I talk to investors, I often talk about steak and sizzle. And I say, we've got an opportunity here in terms of the existing opportunity with the existing products. And then we've got potential for our second generation products.
Dividends in the pipe at all?
So we're at the stage where we're investing what we have back into the business, but you're probably well aware we also have quite a large holding in a company called Skin Biotherapeutics. So I was the founder of Skin Biotherapeutics a number of years or so ago. At that stage we called it Skin Biotics, and I was founded with Professor Kath O'Neill. We put some IP from Manchester University into Skin Biotics, and we OptiBiotix own 51%. I then formed the team, and I put the Skin Biotics as Skin Biotherapeutics on the market in a year later in 2017, and that's grown very, very quickly. And our strategic aim, this is a stated aim which we've RNS'd, is that at some point in the future, we'll release the value of some of the value of Skin Biotherapeutics back to shareholders. And I'm a major shareholder in OptiBiotix. And of course, I'm a major shareholder in OptiBiotix of around about 11-12%. So we see this as a good way of building the business and then releasing value back to OptiBiotix shareholders.
Yes, I should have said you're a large shareholder in the business, of course. Just wanted to ask you one final question. Where do you see things going from here? I think, as you said, you're not quite yet at the half year for this current fiscal year, so we've got another substantial part of the year to go. Whereabouts are you likely to end the year? What are your thoughts in terms and aspirations in terms of the business?
So I've laid this out over the last year. Our focus is very much on growing sales of our first generation products. That's our Slim Biome, our OptiBiome, and our LPLDL. And importantly, to increase the number of larger partners. I've alluded to, we've got a number of large partners. So these are $1 billion turnover partners, the Holnabouts, the Alpha Sigmas, the Agripurs. We want to bring in a number of those. So I always use the example that when you go fishing, the initial deals for the smaller fish, if you like, and then they attract the bigger fish. But at this stage now, when our products are quite well recognised internationally, we're starting to attract the bigger fish. They take longer to get the deal. So we'll be looking to get get some bigger fish, some bigger partners throughout the year, and then to commercialize our second generation products. That's our sweet biotics, our microbiome modulators, and LPLDLs, a drug biotherapeutics. So together, those two things should lead to really good growth for the company, not just for this year, but for future years. And on the back of it, we can see that it'll be hopefully an increase in the share price.
Okay, well, we look forward to speaking to you again, perhaps maybe at the end of the year, and we can get an update on how things have progressed as the year has gone on. But in the meantime, congratulations on the numbers, very impressive. And Stephen, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much indeed for joining us. Stephen O'Hara is the founder and chief executive of OptiBiotix. For more videos from us here at IGTV, join us on Twitter at IGCom, Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.